Welcome to my leadership series. I'm negotiation and leadership strategist Elizabeth Suarez. My goal is to help you enhance your skills to establish a more profitable, inclusive, and productive workplace. Throughout this series, I will be talking to industry leaders and delving into their managerial styles. In today's video, I am spotlighting Jean Patrick. She is the CEO of ScaleUp Edge, an exclusive community for scale-up C-suite executives, advisors, and investors. Welcome, Jean, and thank you for being here.
Hi, thanks, Elizabeth. I'm happy to be here.
Great. So let's go ahead and get started. And I want to start with a very, to get to know you better question. So please tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, for instance, where were you born? What school did you go to? And even what did you study?
Yes. So I grew up in North Dakota, and I grew up in a very small town, about 900 people, and grew up on a farm. And so I learned how to work hard early on in my career because my mom and dad, that was all part of what we did. And then we got up early and worked hard. I went to school I went to a junior college. I went to a four-year college in North Dakota. I got a master's degree at the University of Minnesota, and I have a second master's degree at the University of Denver. And my education was focused on business. I was initially, my undergrad was business education with coaching. Athletics was a big part of my life. And so I was, through scholarship, played basketball in undergrad. And so I wanted to keep being part of basketball and the sports. And at the time, they didn't have any other avenue after college except coaching. So I went into teaching business courses and coaching. And then I moved into corporate environment in the training and operational roles that I've since then been moved into running a startup company, as you said, ScaleUp Edge.
Yeah. So this is fascinating, your background, because you really need to have dealt with a lot of leadership issues. So before we dive into further into this discussion, how would you define leadership?
Leadership is really bringing a group of people with you to a common goal. So early on in my career, as I spoke that I was focused on athletics and I coached 3 sports, I learned early on, not through definition of leadership, but through an actual activity where I was coaching a high school team, and I had a superstar on my team. She was amazing on my junior varsity team in basketball. And we only won 3 games that year. And she was incredible. And so then she moved up into the varsity ranks the following year, and I had an average team, and we only lost 3 games that year. And so what it was interesting to me is in creating a team and bringing a team forward from a leadership perspective, you have to pay attention to people's skill set and people's motivation and people's strengths, and create that team around you from a leadership perspective to help drive toward that goal and be a strong communicator. So that's kind of a little bit about leadership for me.
So what I hear you say in terms of leadership and some core principles is that communication is key in order to be an effective leader. What other core principles do you think are important in order to be that effective leader?
Understanding your people, understanding, listening, accepting differing points of view doesn't mean that the one's right, one's wrong, but you actually may get a better solution as you listen and hear what other people have to understand. And I think the communication is really be clear from a leader being clear on what the goal is, and to really also celebrate success, not the final success, but to celebrate and acknowledge those successes along the way through that journey. I know it sounds simple sometimes. Again, it goes back to my coaching career, right? So you always wanted to win the championship game, but you played games along the way and you celebrated those wins. And sometimes you even lost, but sometimes the celebration in a losing effort was, hey, we had defense that was better than we've ever done before. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very competitive. I like to win. I'm more competitive with myself than anything, but those are the things that I truly think about.
So, as a leader today, I'm assuming that you have had all this mandate about inclusive leadership. I mean, it's happening not only here in the United States, but also worldwide. What is your opinion on the subject of inclusion in the workplace?
Yeah, mandate is unfortunate. So I would say that for business leaders, to have an inclusive mandate tells you that there is an issue, there's a challenge, because you have to basically tell people you must look at that. But we can't solve that overnight. But I would tell you that I really look at, and I work with a number of peers of mine that we talk about this issue or this challenge, and the focus is really on bringing in differing points of view, different experiences, people who have different experiences, differing opinions, and being able to recognize and understand them and listen to them. And that's because you're going to be that much stronger of a team if you have that. If you have people that look like you, that think like you, that work like you, like me, like if I brought somebody that looks like me, brings it along the way, I'm not as strong of a team. And I will tell you that I don't understand why it has to be a mandate to do that. I think all of us need to just accept differences and understand the importance of that and what it can do for you as a team and what it can do for you as your business.
I love how you say that you're not appreciative about the use of the word mandate, and also that you don't understand why people are having difficulties with differences. So, what is the biggest challenge for a leader like yourself in order to come across like, okay, I can deal with different perspectives, I can work with different opinions, and also difficult decision making? What is your biggest challenge, being able to do that effectively and also profitably?
There's probably two things. One is communication. So my way of communicating can be heard differently by different people. So I have to really pay attention to how people are reacting, responding, and be open to and really have people to ask questions to be able to do that. So I think communication is one of the areas. Another challenge I have is speed. So if you take time up front with those differing opinions, your product or your solution is going to be so much better. I'm this hurry up, let's get moving, and I don't have a lot of patience, let's keep moving. But it's taking the time up front to let's work through this, and especially in a startup. So now you have somebody who doesn't have a lot of patience, that's in a startup that we got to move quickly, but it's taking the time to listen.
I can see that. So let's talk about what you have lived, because you became the CEO of this company startup when the pandemic began, correct?
Yes, in July of 20.
Yeah. So the pandemic was going on. So leaders have to virtually reinvent themselves. And you started as in a startup, and you came from a corporation, and you ran into this startup. So what are some of the actions you, as well as your clients, instituted during this time in order to survive?
So what we're doing right now, like interaction on Zoom or other, Google Meets or anything that goes along with that, and being able to do that. And I think the other thing that I have had to experience or understand with my team is I have a team that would work 24 hours a day.
Oh, okay.
And so now you're working from home, and it's easy just to pop in. So it's really kind of put some parameters around, hey, you need to take some time off. And time off is probably not going anywhere, but time off is shut that computer off, right? So be able to do that. So I think that's a big part of it. I've seen some of my clients where they will have happy hours online. They will share, they will have topics on what's their favorite, food, pets, those kinds of things. So trying to create some level of understanding of personally who you are versus always, having the conversation in Zoom kind of synchronously, just one-on-one. But I will also tell you that one thing that I've missed, I was just going to share really quickly is when you go to meetings in person,
Yes.
I tend to go like 10 minutes before, I'm that person that starts a little bit early just to get myself situated, and you have conversation with people like, how's the weather? How's it going? And when you're waiting for the meeting to start. Here, the meeting starts when you get brought into the meeting room. And it's like, okay, let's get started. And I'm going, wait a minute, what? I want to have that interaction. I want to get to know you a little bit more, or what's going on in your world a little bit.
So you would say the lack of informal interaction is something that really hasn't worked in this virtual world.
Yes, absolutely.
Anything else that hasn't worked in this virtual world from your perspective?
Probably building relationships with clients as I would like to. So, in order to build relationships, sometimes it's good to go out, have dinner, or, just get to know people that way. I think we're all so busy that it seems odd for me anyway. And that's something that I've had to shift is, let's just get a Zoom meeting just to get to know each other. It's a little bit different, but as you build with our startup, as we build our clientele base, it's that relationship building that has been a challenge too.
Yeah. So now let's think post-pandemic. I know we're still in the midst of it, some countries worse than others. What do you see as some key opportunities that lie ahead for businesses?
It's a little bit like the space that I'm in right now is the opportunity is there's a lot of technologies that are coming up, in the cloud, a lot more technology that I was aware of today because, there's ways for us to run our business and to do the things that we do in the business technically online. And so I think we're going to see more and more, and I think we're going to see more and more of those business technologies start looking at ways to integrate better so that they aren't all separate systems. So it's very technology systematic approach to that. And then I think we're also going to have people that are going to have different skill sets down the road that are needed. So we have, the data that comes through these systems more and more, since wherever we are, we're going to be working through these systems.
Yes.
And then we're going to need people who understand the data, understand the analytics, and understand what happens with that. I know we have that today, but I see a lot of people moving in that direction.
So what are some concerns that you have observed that we need to pay attention to as we venture into a post-pandemic arena?
I think there's a couple things, Elizabeth. I think one of them is for companies that are going to be going back into offices is think about the people that are uncomfortable in going back, right? So there are going to be people that are, kind of comfortable and they've been somewhat sheltered. We have been sheltered. I've been sheltered in my house. I don't go out. I didn't go out much a year ago. And so now all of a sudden we're, going to open things up and coming to an office. Some people are going to have a transition. Think about that transition going back to the office. And I don't think it's going to be as easy as it was when we had to shut it down. I worked for another company when we shut down with COVID. We did it within, and we were a global company, larger company, and we did it within a day and a half. It was easy. We were a technology company, right? So it was easy, and we had some remote workers at the time. But I think coming back into the office, I think as a leader within an organization, we all need to think about people's reaction and response to that. Not that, okay, now we're back at it. We've been, so I would say that's one of them. I think the other one is, from post, I think we're going to be in a different place from where we started. I think we're going to see more people working remote. I think we're going to be seeing more people using the technologies that are available to us. I think we as leaders have to be comfortable with people working from home when and if we choose and have that as an option for our people. I mean, we're going to be able to pull from a different pool, different people hiring set, because if we can reach out to global remote workforces, we should be able to do that a lot easier now that we've lived through this pandemic, and we were pretty successful in doing that. So
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, listening to your answers, I've come to realize we're moving into like a rebirth. I mean, like a new beginning that we don't even know what normal is. I mean, going back to February 2020, I don't think that's ever going to happen. So, with that said, what would be, and this is my last question for you, what would be the best advice you will give your younger self?
It's a good question. I think I would probably say have an open mind
Mhm.
and don't be afraid to try new things. And
Mm.
again, probably was that, but I was cautious when I was younger to
Mhm.
try new things. But you know what? There is really no right answer, right? So there's because things change so often, so quickly now that you know what? Just keep learning, keep going with the flow, and keep challenging yourself. Don't ever get satisfied.
You know, that's a great advice. I know you have a young, you have a teenage son, don't you?
I do,
And
15-year-old.
a 15-year-old, and I have a 20-year-old daughter. And I have given her that advice because we forget when we're young that we need to learn more and don't be as hard on ourselves. So great advice that you're giving. So well, Jean, I appreciate your time. Thank you for actually sharing all your knowledge. I've always followed you from afar, all the work you've done, and I've always been very impressed. I appreciate you. So thank you for everybody else who's watching this video. I welcome your feedback on this topic. Comment below to continue the conversation. I will see you in the next video. Nos vemos.